the preparation, or you as an athlete, what do you do differently that's going to give you that little bit more over that guy? I guess that's often what makes or breaks good athletes from average athletes to, I guess, non-athletes in some sense, from a competitive competing sense. Being able to have a long conversation, or just a good conversation, even if it's not long, just that's a value that has honesty, sincerity, and just, I guess, some degree of authenticity in it. Then you feel just a lot better. You feel like you've connected with someone. You feel like you've been seen, been heard. It's really nice. There's a lot of behaviors that I think men persist with and continue to sort of behave in a certain way that is quite childish or maybe a bit boyish. And it's like, if you're above, I don't know, 25 or whatever, like, come on, man, like I think you should behave in a way that's also advertises yourself appropriately.
Hello and welcome everybody. Wojtek here as per usual. Another conversation, another guest. Hello Alex.
Hello.
As we discussed just before starting the show, I don't know where this show is going to take us. It's for you to decide whether or not you want to go on the ride. Obviously there was some parts of the show already as you start watching it to give you a taster. But this is Alex. He's a friend of mine from Jiu-Jitsu. Yet again, another martial artist practitioner, and for the most part, just a curious guy. So, maybe start by just sharing whatever you want to share as a start,
As a start?
What would you say?
A broad question. I guess, I could tell you a bit about where I'm from, I guess what I do, and I suppose that's a good start, and go from there, really.
Sure.
It's a bit like an interview, really. But I don't know where to start. I'm a South African, so I was born in South Africa, and I think it's a funny thing, because it's like where you're from shapes a lot of who you are and how you relate to the world, how you see the world. So, when I lived there for 20 years of my life so far. I'm only 28 now, so different parts of the country in South Africa. It's a very beautiful place, and I would definitely say you should go visit, because it's very cool.
Funnily enough, a mate of mine who is from South Africa, even though he's Indian by descent, he invited me and Julia for his wedding in December. To Durban, and he said to...
That's me, that's where I was born.
Yeah, no way, take it away, obviously it's an aspiration. I don't have the plan just yet in place, because it's a big thing.
This December.
Yeah, so it's fairly close as well, but we're gonna make it happen, man. We gotta.
We have to. I think it's a really, I haven't been to Durban in a long time. I think the last time I was there was 2010, but it's a very tropical, fun city. I think people enjoy it.
2010. So does that mean? Does that mean you moved inside South Africa to begin with for uni or stuff like that?
Not for uni. It was. I was 12 when we moved, or maybe 10.
Oh, okay.
And then it was for my dad's work. So he used to work for a big sort of corporation, and they wanted him to move to Johannesburg, which is in the centre of the country, and it's maybe one of the more sketchy places, or can be, let me say that, can be one of the more sketchy places in the country, and it's just a very big city. It's landlocked, you don't have the sea or the ocean. It's still very beautiful, and there's lots to do there, but then he said no, and then there was an offer to move to Cape Town in the Western Cape, which is a lot nicer, I think. There is a general bias, like a stereotype, that people from Cape Town say Cape Town's a lot nicer than everywhere else in the country, which I definitely feel. So we moved to Cape Town, and then that was 2008 that we moved, and then we just visited in 2010.
You were 12 at the time.
10, I think 10 I was when we moved.
It seems to me, and you said it's a bit more sketchy and stuff. According to theories in terms of the size of a city, basically, the bigger the city, the more likely there will be crime, simply out of kind of
people.
And so maybe a theory could be made that whichever is the biggest city in a country is probably the most sketchy. Obviously, there are probably some examples that that's not the case. But is that the only reason, or do you think there's something like, is there a particular reason why it's so sketchy?
Johannesburg, I don't want to say too much because I haven't lived there, and I've visited a limited number of times. So I guess my opinion, take it with a grain of salt or a pinch of salt, really. But it is a very big city, and there's a lot of people that move there for jobs and opportunities, and I think it maybe doesn't always work out very well. So you've got sort of a lot of people that are maybe looking for work that don't have work, and then there's a struggle in that that can maybe lead people to crime, and then I think now Johannesburg in the modern day area is also it's very corrupt. It is a very corrupt city, so there's a lot of just general mismanagement of wealth and just general mismanagement of city property. So in that there's a lot of hardship and difficulty, where as if it was maintained, I think it would maybe generate a bit more of a better city. I think it's also it's definitely not the most dangerous, like as a whole. I think it's unfair to say Johannesburg as a whole is just the most dangerous place.
Yeah, sure.
It's definitely not. I think there's other parts of the country. For example, in Cape Town, there's an area called the Cape Flats, which are very, very dangerous, and there's often shootings and sort of just gang-related activity there.
But is that only the case for Johannesburg, that there is so much mismanagement of, as you said, property and stuff, or is it simply because it's the biggest city that it makes it so vivid?
I mean, maybe it's a bit more obvious. There, it is also governed by the leading party or the biggest party in South Africa as of the moment, and it does seem that they are what they work with and what they operate with, whether that's sort of municipal or city or national, doesn't seem to work as well. And I think, I guess if you ask any South African, they'd probably moan about the ANC quite a lot. So, and I'm more than happy to go on record and say that they do mismanage a lot of stuff, I suppose, because it's a very beautiful country, and I'm very proud about being a South African and come from South Africa. And I think it's a very sad state of affairs when you look at a country that's so beautiful and has a lot of natural resources, and I guess could be a powerhouse, in my opinion, if it was managed properly and things were, I guess, used to the best of their potential, if you will. But that's not always the case, and it's not just South Africa's problem. I think there's a lot of other countries' problems, but
yeah. Well, certainly in terms of it's almost like this idea that just power corrupts, and people and incentives. People might get into power with a hopeful sort of ideal, but over time, because of the incentive being there for them to do the best for themselves, they might start mismanaging, and even not being an explicit goal, it just turns out that there is a bit of a deterioration. It's interesting for me to explore this from the perspective of just looking. So I moved over here 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And at the time, at least in terms of my personal belief, as ignorant as I might have been as a 19-year-old, but also the vibe of Poland in general was that it's better to be in the UK than in Poland. There was a huge influx of Polish workers, Polish students. There were companies that literally, the one that, for example, got me to study in the UK, they were literally making money off of getting people on the program, finding the right uni for them, preparing them for that uni to start, and sending them away.
Goodness gracious.
Great,
in Poland or
in Poland to go to the UK. Great business. Many people wanted that, and it worked for me.
Yeah.
But it's ironic and somewhat sad maybe for me to observe nowadays that 10 years later, it almost seems like now many Polish people are going back. And of course, it's on one hand really, really positive in a sense of that basically suggests Poland has been moving in the right direction, whatever the right direction means. But at the same time, it's kind of like that means that someone is moving in the wrong direction, you know,
Yeah.
or at least they might be slowed down. Oh, that's a good way to put it. So
I guess it's also, I think people tend to move towards opportunities and like move towards, you know, if they feel like an economy or a country is maybe a bit more stable, there's better job opportunities in that area for them, then I think people will often move towards that. And it does make sense. I mean, it's a similar reason to why I came to the UK, because I got here in December 2018.
okay.
December 2018. So
For uni?
no. So I had a job at a boarding school.
Okay.
So I'd finished school, and I wasn't sure what I was doing. In South Africa, I'd finished in 2017 for the year of 2018. I didn't want to just go to university for the sake of going to university. I think I think university is great, and I think it can be a really valuable thing. But I think if you're just going because you don't know what else you're doing, and you just, I guess you can do that. That's great, but I didn't want to do that, and I didn't have that option to just do it. So I sort of was working, and I had a bakery for a short time, which was quite fun, and then
That was back in
South Africa, and then
That's awesome.
through, I guess, my mother's ancestry, I was able to get an ancestral visa and come and work and live in the UK.
Okay.
Which has been very good. It's been a very, very valuable time, I suppose. I'm certainly not complaining at all, and I think.
Whereabouts did you arrive in Edinburgh straight away?
No, I wish. I wish. To be fair, not actually. I landed. I was in London for literally like 2 weeks when I got here, and then I went straight from there to. I'm going to say Bath.
Oh yeah.
But sort of in the greater area, just outside of Bath, sort of in some of the countryside around Bath. That's where the school was, and it was lovely. I was there for 3.5 years, and then I came up to Edinburgh, and I can't complain at all. I think it was a really wonderful way to come. I was quite young, and it gave me a good job. It gave me a place to stay. I had food and all of that accommodation because you had a boarding school.
Uh-huh.
But then,
what did you do at the boarding school?
I guess a bit of everything really. We did sort of the majority of our work was in the boarding houses, sort of supporting house parents, house staff, those kinds of things. And then for my final year, I was an assistant house parent for one of the houses, and then. But in and amongst that, I worked in various departments around the school. But the main department I worked in was in sort of the PE department.
Oh yeah.
Sort of coaching sports, a lot of hockey, some cricket and stuff. So it was sort of like but then you would do other random sports as well, bits and bobs.
Is that the kind of job that is a bit like being an older brother because how old are the kids?
Is the house parenting or just
yeah,
sort
I mean,
of coaching?
yeah, because the boarding school is how old? Are they like what? 14, 12 or something like that?
It ranged from like 11 to, I would say, 16.
Oh yeah, just
17,
before going
sixth form,
okay.
up to sixth form. So I mean, yeah, I guess yes and no. You could maybe say yes in some senses, but I would say no for the majority of it. I think at the end of the day, as much as you are operating and dealing and working with the kids all the time, you are still, I guess, staff, and they are students. And I think, I mean, some of them would try and push your buttons, I suppose, and try and be a bit more informal and casual. But it's sort of, you have to be flexible, I think, in some senses. And it's like, because it's quite in some senses, it's a very serious environment. Like you're looking after kids, and you have to maintain a very good standard with things. And I think the school that I was working at did that quite well. So I was also very happy to be a part of, I guess, that team in general.
Yeah. You know, it's curious for me. I've never been to a boarding school. I mean, in a sense of, I've never attended, I've never visited. I know how I can sort of imagine how they look like because there are so many of them, especially in the UK. It's a huge...
it's a very big culture here.
Yeah. Huge. What can you tell me about that? Like, what is it like?
You work a lot. Your working hours and your free time are not set as set as you would like them to be. I think there's, so you'll like you live at work
Of course.
in a, I guess, both a positive and negative sense. You end up living, like, I guess the term I think we'd use is permanent staff. It's like you're there all the time because you're just permanently on the premises. But it was quite nice. So you end up, I mean, I was very fortunate to have sort of people of a similar age to me that also joined at a fairly similar time, and you make good friends. I'm going to one of the friends I made through that school's wedding at the end of this month.
Amazing.
So it's like, and that's a lifelong friend of mine. So I'm very, and one of them, I'm actually going to, oh my goodness, I'm going to 2 weddings this month, and both of them are from that school.
Okay.
So I guess that speaks for itself in some senses, that you make good friends. It can be quite intense sometimes because you will finish quite late in the evening and then you wake up very early to like open the house and do things. But it's also very convenient in terms of you finish work and you walk like, a couple of 100 meters or 100 meters and then you're at your premises or your house, so to speak.
And I bet the premises are beautiful, right? Because it's like
the countryside was very beautiful. The houses that we were working were very old, so there was always like random problems, which is, I guess, gave it a lot more character than some of us would have wanted at times.
Yeah, right.
But it was good fun. Yeah.
It sounds like friends from uni, really, because it's that time of life, right? Like, whether someone went to work or to uni or to whatever, it seems to me like I have a group that I just attended one of their weddings literally last weekend. And yeah, I have a group of friends from uni, from the first time,
in Poland or here?
No, here. So like that 19, 20, 21 of age, that time of my sort of growing up, which seemed to me like one of the strongest, if not the strongest bonds one makes, because it's that time of your life.
So I'm not sure if it's trauma bonding or they definitely probably a bit of everything, highs and lows, all of that nonsense, because we some traumatic times. You'll have like difficult kids, or you'll have difficult members of staff that you have to try and navigate around, work with, and so on.
Yeah, right. But
definitely trauma.
And how did they recruit you?
So initially I went through an organization that sort of does it.
They find the work for you, and that was what was offered.
It's an organization that would, I guess, place kids coming out of school in boarding houses, particularly in boarding houses. I think a lot of people would do it as like the classic sort of gap year type thing, gap year type work. But then for me, I was just using it as an entryway, basically. So then after that initial year, I just sort of found a slightly different role in the school, and I then continued working, and then I went back to sort of more original role, which was with the boarding house and PE department, basically. So it was good. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's
maybe not 10 out of 10,
like
7.5.
Well, that's a big difference.
I'll take it.
All those situations flashing in your mind.
Maybe it's been quite a long time now, so I've glamorized it.
Yeah, right. Of course, we filter.
Yeah.
And it almost sounds like those kind of gap year summer house, summer work or summer camp work, just full time at a school.
Pretty much.
But still, yeah. Okay. Well, in terms of working and living in the same place, I'll tell you a story.
Oh, go on then.
So, I'm pretty sure I told that before in the podcast. I don't know. I've been in Kuwait for almost a year.
Okay.
So, I don't remember at which point did we meet in Jiu-Jitsu. Did you join before we went upstairs? Of course.
Yes, I joined in 22
or 21?
I think 23. March 23. I tried it in 2022 when I first moved to Edinburgh, but then I wasn't working and I was doing some studies, so I only then properly joined in 2023. I think like March or April 20.
So 2021 I moved over to Edinburgh, and for some time I attended Jiu-Jitsu, and then in 2022 from I want to say June to December or maybe June till January, I went away, simply like a few jobs fell through. I didn't really know what I'm doing with my life at the time. I was just off the back end of working fully remotely for myself.
Oof.
And simply there was not enough clients for me to make my ends meet, and there came a point that it's like, okay, you either find some bigger fish to fry, or you need to, I don't know, you need to come up with something, you know. So I worked at a cafe for some time, and then I applied for this kind of, I guess a way to put it is like a business journalist role.
In Kuwait?
Well, no, so the company goes all around the world. They send teams of 2 or 3 to developing countries to basically make interviews with CEOs and ministers of the local economy.
Interesting.
To put them in a little year booklet. Yeah, it's like a magazine.
Yeah.
And the company obviously makes money off of the advertisements that they sell inside the magazine. So I was the guy who would interview the person, the minister, whatever. So kind of foot in the door. I make you feel welcomed and interested. And then once you're really, really happy with our work, my partner, who's the salesperson, says, by the way, if you want to make your interview even better, we can make a full page advert in the ad for your company for, I don't know, 100K. Absurd amounts for, for this prestigious
advertisement.
Yeah. And so that was something that came out of the blue for me completely.
It's quite interesting. It's a smart idea.
Yeah, so I did work before as a sort of like creative writing, whatever, copywriting and stuff. So I applied to them and they offered me a job, but they basically, the way they work is, especially with your first assignment, whichever country they are sending you to, you either go or and that's it. So I was like, well, it sounds like a great adventure. Let's do it. It's a bit crazy. Why Kuwait? I don't even know where that is on the map at the time. Whatever, So I packed my bags, actually moved out of this flat for those 9 months. I didn't know if I'm coming back or not. And I went to Kuwait. And why I'm telling you this is because of that work and kind of...
living and working in the same environment at the same time.
So... that was the part that really was probably the most difficult part of the whole job, which was, obviously the company to save money, to make it as efficient as possible, they find you a nice flat and a nice car, but you have to share that space with your partner, right? With that salesperson, for my situation, for example. And unfortunately, in that setting, the salesperson was the important one, and I was literally just a foothold.
Yeah.
And that was my role. Like my opinion on stuff that didn't matter. I was the driver if anyone was supposed to drive. I was the guy to sort out cleaning if anyone was basically I was the doorknob and they were the salesman, kind of thing. And
any extras you had to do basically.
Yeah, I was because ultimately it's the other person that brings them revenue. I'm just the one that gets you kind of excited about speaking with us, but then I'm supposed to shut up. And so my experience about with that.
That's savage.
Yeah, my experience with that with that company, as blessed I was to get that opportunity, it ended after that project. I did hold on till the end because there was a catch that if you don't hold on till the end,
you don't get paid or something.
Yeah, you don't get paid the commission fee, and obviously the commission fee was the biggest. Like you get a
chunk of
you get a basic kind of whatever.
It's a base salary and then anything on top.
And the commission was obviously the big bucks there. Yeah. But yeah, for me it was very unusual to literally for 9 months live sometimes even with my manager, because she would come down to the country for a few weeks, and she would just stay at our flat at an additional room, and it was weird, man. Like in terms of I was doing a podcast at the time as well. They hated the fact that I have any sort of life other than work, because obviously if you're not making money then the company is losing money, and since you're working and living together, is there any stop to work? You know what I mean? You could just go on. You
just keep, and it becomes, I guess, depending on who you're working with and their attitudes, you can drive each other in a good way, or you can drive each other in a bad way.
Yeah, so I had a bit of a push and pull there in terms of, I wanted to go to the gym or maybe go for a walk or actually have lunch.
And they were like,
and because of the attitude of my manager, my sort of partner, over time I could literally see her becoming more and more like the manager, because she wanted to be like her, right? Because obviously she's successful, you know, as a business salesperson. Obviously the lady had it sorted. They were incredible in terms of selling people ideas.
And what
great.
they do,
Work-life balance, I don't think there was any life. It was just work balance.
That's in my final year of working at the school. I think I had 1 day off a week, like protected, but then I was working pretty much like
non-stop.
6 days a week for 3 weeks in a row, and it was sort of like pretty long days. You know, you would have the odd couple of hours, because obviously it's a school. So if there were no classes that you needed to be assisting with or working with, or there was no sort of PE lessons that day or something, you know, you could get back maybe, you know, a cheeky hour here or some time there, but you effectively still have to be on call, so to speak. So I remember we would work like some ridiculous hours. I think from like 7 o'clock, where you would open the house, and then you would close the house, or you would like put the alarms on or whatever at sort of 11 in the evening. But you were sort of at work doing something or needing to be somewhere fairly continuously the entire time.
More or less.
Yeah, and that's
16 hours.
So then it's like 16 hours a day and then you would get like reasonable lunch as well. So yeah, it was a lot.
I've had Niall here for a podcast recently. You know, the guy who worked
on rigs,
offshore.
Yes.
And the way they worked whenever they would go offshore is like 2 weeks non-stop work, essentially, you know, 15-hour days, hard labor on it. So yeah, I like.
And that's also like, you have to be so focused the whole time, because most of the people, I mean, I don't know, I've never worked in a rig and I don't know anything much, but I would assume that you have to be focused all the time, because if you're not, injuries will happen, or stuff doesn't work, or you know, like it could be quite dangerous.
It's a bit more high stakes. I guess you get used to it, of course, and stuff. But he said that he's been blessed with not having any major problem over his career. Exactly. But yeah, it's something for something, right? Like for example, in the setting that he was in, he would go off, for example, for I think 2 or 3 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
But then back, you're for 3 weeks off work,
Nothing.
right? Because it's so intense.
You need that like decompression time.
Exactly. So, I didn't really have much holidays during that year in Kuwait, but it was...
Was it a full year that you were in Kuwait?
9 months.
9 months.
Exactly, I think. I got back for Christmas, luckily, because there was questions whether we're gonna be back for Christmas, but luckily
you finished the project up.
Yeah, because it was all about money. Like if you met the revenue goal, they were like, whatever,
that's fine.
Go.
Jeez.
No,
but then so after my time at the school, I finished there and I left. And I found a course in like computer coding and programming. That's very random. I was at the time, it was, I think, a lot more. There was less of the sort of like the AI beast that's currently going crazy now, and I guess it's always a good idea to have some form of computer literacy skills in a slightly higher sense. And there was a course that was offered, or that I found, and I applied and I got in, and it was entirely online for 6 months. So I thought, you know what, and I'd done a road trip to Scotland the year before, so I was like, I'll move up to Scotland.
Was that in Edinburgh, the course?
Well, I studied it here when I was in Edinburgh. I could technically have been anywhere.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but I had a friend of mine was living in Perth in Scotland, and I went to visit him, and then through some family friends, that one of them was living in Edinburgh, and then they said, don't go live in Perth, it's not as nice as Edinburgh, come to Edinburgh rather. So I fortunately had a family friend that was like, come stay with us, just as a nice entry into Edinburgh, which is like, that was a huge blessing, because I don't think I was fully prepared at that time, but I was sort of like, the hand was there. There was a hand that protected and guided me all the way.
Hand. Yeah.
So and then that was the entry into
And you worked in computer science for some time?
I wouldn't say worked. I finished the course, and I then started working at a bike shop because I like bicycles and I don't know, whatever. Yeah, I've cycled a lot and raced and done all of those things, but
that's all they ask at the interview. It's like, so are you a bike person or a car person? It's like, oh yeah, I'm definitely
a bike person. Yeah, it was asking like
job.
random technical questions at the bike interview, but it was fine. So then I got a job at a bike shop, and then again it was with the goal of finding a job in tech or computer and the computer sort of software engineering realm. And I was applying for jobs from when I finished in the March of the March of 2023 until August 2023 when I finally found a job. And then
that's 4 months
of just like non-stop applying.
Yeah.
And then I started the job, and after a month they let me go after a month. So then I was like, oh, screw this is horrible.
What was there, do you know,
It was a gaming company. It was a
Rockstar, obviously. Yeah.
No.
Everyone
Fortunately, it wasn't Rockstar. I guess maybe unfortunately, maybe it would have been better if I went to Rockstar instead. But it was like it's called.
You don't have to say.
I mean, I can say I don't even know if the game was ever released. I think it was Oh Baby Games.
Okay.
That was the name of the company. I don't know. Maybe they were doing very well. Also, I wasn't very good. I will say I wasn't the best software engineer. Or
I mean, you were just starting. Like what?
Yeah, but then there wasn't a huge amount of support, and it was also like all remote, which was fine. And then, like after a month, I got let go. So it was horrible. It caused an existential crisis. It's not a pleasant experience being let go from a job that you've been trying to work for or get into sort of in terms of industry, for months.
Yeah.
And then I went back to the bike shop, fortunately. So I had like a fallback like straight away, which is really good. And then I worked at the bike shop for a very long time. Almost too long, I would say. But yeah.
What's happening now then?
Now, why?
Because obviously you're doing the massage sort of. I guess it's a
soft tissue therapy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. But is there anything else you've done in between apart from the bike shop? Don't get me wrong. I don't think that's actually a bad thing to do. Like in a sense, if you enjoy the job and you're getting good money for it, the whole. Maybe this is maybe directing the conversation somewhere else, but in my opinion, it's a huge myth that people are being sold, same as uni and stuff, that you gotta go for something more. There's something more, like you gotta progress and stuff. Sometimes,
if you've got the job that you like and you have
just enjoy your life. Like, do you really need more, adventures?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's necessarily about more. Thank you. I don't think it's about having more or constantly pursuing more. I think for me it was always a case of trying to get into a position where I was just a lot more stable, and again going back to I guess the start, for me personally it was a huge part of why I came to the UK was because like I wasn't sure about university and didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that it was sort of in the future, if that makes sense. So I guess the goal was to come here, work towards my citizenship through sort of my
ancestry.
My ancestry, and then work, save, and then before I met Tanya, the plan was to go back to South Africa and just study there because I guess your pound stretches a little bit further compared to the rand, so that was the idea. Was the idea, and then I was sort of working at the bike shop and also just trying to figure out where to go. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved working at the bike shop. It was wonderful, and I think bikes are fantastic, and I love my bike. Sadly, I sold my bike because I'm looking at getting another one. So I can't say I love it that much really, but it's very difficult when you're trying to progress while working and trying to move towards, I guess, something that you want to do. So that's why the sort of the massage therapy, the soft tissue therapy stuff, which I guess you could say I'm currently doing it, but have finished for the year, academic year.
So that's a course that you're doing, like college, a sort of
So the
practical sort of.
The goal is to do physiotherapy, and I've not been able to get into any of the courses in sort of Edinburgh or anywhere in Scotland really. I think it's a very competitive course, and I actually don't know why I haven't gotten it, to be honest. I've like, even my lecturers for this past year, because I applied again this year and I didn't get it, like we don't know why you haven't gotten it. So
is that something that you've discovered, like this is what you'd like to do over the course? Essentially,
yes. I think over the course of, it's always been it's the looming question that I've had for a long time is what do you want to do? Like what's the career of Alex, if you will? And I think over time I sort of put things together, I guess slowly but surely, and the one thing that sort of came back was sort of something more active, where you're not in an office, and obviously something related to sort of healthcare in general. Because I think it's important to be healthy and also for yourself, yes, but also to I guess help other people and in that, and I guess try and push people to reach, I guess, a bit more potential without sounding too corny or I don't know.
It's completely up to you. Like,
so, I mean,
corny or not corny, if that's something that is valuable to you, like fuck other people's opinion.
I suppose
it's just a way of putting words. But so, because I know that you're a sports enthusiast. That's, if I were to describe
summarize
one, you always struck me as a very, very sporty guy. Probably one of the healthier guys as well in terms of actually both stretching and sort of, being able to keep your body, not only to break it. And is that something that you've been pursuing over all these years with different sports, or is it simply just I want to stay active and it just so happens that it's
a mixture. I guess it's a mixture. I've always done a lot of sports and I guess been involved with sports because it's very fun and I enjoy it a lot. But I suppose more so in recent years, with just living in a country, I guess by yourself. The majority of my family is still in South Africa. My sister's now moved to the UK last year.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. So for the past sort of 7 years or so, all of my family's been there. So it's very little support and stuff. So I've used a lot of sports as I guess a management system. If you're tired, if you're struggling, whatever, it's like there's always something that you have control over. You can engage with sports, I guess, in a good way, and I guess it's a very nice way of managing it because you also get something from it, as opposed to providing you're doing it healthily, I guess. But
of course, it's certainly a safety valve than some sort of drugs and stuff or
not
vices of cheaper.
There's nothing wrong with a beer every now and then.
No, one beer maybe, 40 beers in one night in one sitting. But wait, what kind of sports have you done before?
So I played a lot of hockey.
Like grass hockey.
Field hockey,
at school. Field hockey. Okay.
Field hockey at school. I did gymnastics when I was younger for a couple of years, and then I picked it up later on in life before I came to the UK, just from a strength training point of view. Stretching and the training, nothing like that, nothing extra, just sort of going through the training. Cycling, I used to cycle a lot, sort of in South Africa, raced a lot, sort of cross-country mountain biking.
Oh, okay.
Which is good fun. And then, what else? Obviously Jiu-Jitsu, I guess now I've started doing both as a hobby, but also from a sporting context as well. I've picked up running, sort of long distance running. No, I'm not very fast, but I do it.
Are you also one of those crazy guys that wants to do an Ironman at some point?
I probably will.
Recently, I think
it's become sports become very trendy. Sports
maybe so, but
particularly like running, cycling, and swimming. I think or Ironmans in general.
Yeah. Like within the time span of maybe a month, I've had at least 2 conversations where someone is like out of the blue, oh yeah, by the way, I'm preparing for an Ironman. Like, okay.
I think a lot of
this
random. I mean, I would love to do an Ironman. I think it's an incredible thing to achieve, and I think a lot more people would be able to do it if they had the sort of the time and the funds for it, because it's also.
I heard it's really pricey in terms of
the
resources.
Entry. If you do an Ironman in, I think through the organisation Ironman, as in because they coined the term.
Oh, I see.
I think it's a company, if I'm not mistaken, called Ironman that then hosts the races where everyone gets the name Ironman from. But it's just an ultra triathlon, isn't it? Really. So I think when I first started running, I had this idea, I'd like to do a half marathon kind of thing. And I think a lot of people will go, okay, I'm going to pick X half marathon, or the Edinburgh half marathon, or the Bristol half marathon, or whatever. And I was just like, no, I don't need to pay for a race. I could just run a half marathon.
Do it, yeah.
So, and I think with a lot of events, it's really fun to do them, but it's quite fun to, I guess, do them first by yourself, in a sense. So I've done a few half marathons by myself. I haven't actually done a road marathon yet. I've run further than that, but I still haven't done a classic road marathon.
What you mean, like on actual
just tarmac,
road?
A road race, or just doing it, plotting a route myself around Edinburgh, and I guess waking up one morning and saying go for a run, and then.
I guess that's not a bad idea to do it early in the morning. It's really quiet here at that point, and very very random there. Like, I don't know, in terms of I can see immense value in pushing yourself and achieving that. It just so happened that people suddenly all around me are like, yeah, I'm doing Ironman now. Apparently the bikes are really expensive in terms of like to get a bike that will help you.
They can be very expensive. The most common thing is people get triathlon bikes, which essentially is it's a bike that you can sit in a sort of a time trial-esque position. So I guess you're in a very aerodynamic position, and in a lot of triathlon races you're not allowed to sit behind each other, so you're not allowed to draft.
Oh yeah.
So you have to, I guess in some senses, do it by yourself. So then the bikes the bikes are designed to put the rider in a position where the rider is able to operate as efficiently as possible for as long as possible and as fast as possible, I guess. It's not like, the Tour de France is on now, and you'll see everyone riding all together, and it's quite scary sometimes when you're in a big peloton like that. I've done 1 or 2 races where there's a big group of guys, and you're all in that sort of, there's bikes everywhere and there's all these noises and stuff. It's good fun, but
one mistake and
people. Everyone goes, but you get like sucked along basically. You just everyone together going in the same direction at a certain speed. You almost don't need to. If you're slightly further back, you just don't pedal. You touch the pedals every now and then, and the bikes sort of you just get dragged along. It's really nice.
Wow. I guess
really
it's the guys. So basically, the strategy is how to make sure that you're not constantly at the front, but you're close to the front when it needs to be at the very end, right?
From a racing point of view. So that's, I guess, the big difference between like a more classic cycling race and triathlons.
How do they sort of? I'm looking for a word. How do they make sure that people don't do that in an Ironman setting? Do they like have a rule? And
I'm not sure the exact rule. I think there's a distance. There's basically, if you go too close to a rider. So, for example, if you're overtaking a guy on an Ironman race, you have to essentially, you can cycle up behind him, but then you have to sort of go all the way to the other side.
You can't be just about and then.
I guess I think it's an F1 where the cars will drive right up as close as possible, and then they'll overtake because they get that small sort of like aero gain, so to speak. And I think I've seen lots of videos of guys doing triathlons or Ironmans, and there's like a controversy of, he was too close, or I wasn't that close, or this guy overtook me and he was drafting, or.
Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult one to
I think they often have guys on motorbikes or cars next to them that are then watching them. I think if it's a professional race, but
yeah, I see. For those few that are actually going to
and I don't know if it's for all sort of triathlons or just Ironman. I'm not too sure. As far as I'm aware, it's sort of all of them.
How about is there a similar rule in terms of running and swimming then?
Not that I'm aware of.
I wonder, because with running as well, you could run behind a person, right? I guess it's not as powerful.
Yeah, I think it could be. It's helpful, but it's not as sort of, I don't know, helpful in the larger scene.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's probably more difficult to be in that sweet spot behind a person if you're running rather than cycling. Like with cycling, you could literally just follow their...
I don't want to say numbers because I'm scared to be wrong, but even just two riders riding right, like, as in if there's one person and another rider right behind, and the person behind gets quite a noticeable chunk of sort of gain, if I can say it, from an ease point of view. So, if one person is sitting in front the whole time, because there's no incentive to then to overtake, there's nothing wrong with you could then just sit behind a rider the entire time, and then in the last 10 kilometers before the end of the cycle of a Ironman, you could then just attack.
So when you participated in those cycling competitions, did you I'm just thinking it's almost counterintuitive, but wouldn't it be beneficial then for everyone to be behind everyone else? So who is the one who actually runs in front? Like, do you guys all wait at the start?
I was doing it in a very sort of amateur sense. So it wasn't, and it's a big race that happens every year in Cape Town called the Cape Argus. And it's one of the biggest timed races in the world. So really, and you do 110 kilometers around the whole Cape Peninsula. It's a very beautiful race. And
do you get to actually see the stuff?
Yeah, you do. But I guess to answer your question, the incentive is that it's a timed race, and people are wanting to race. They're wanting to go fast. So what often will end up happening is if you get into a good peloton, everyone is moving at the same pace because there's general level of speed that's going, but then at the front of it where you'll have someone leading, if it's in a pro peloton, there's teams, so certain teams will try and position themselves to get their riders in right parts of the peloton so that they're in a good position to attack, whether that's for a sprint, for a climb, whatever the points that they're looking to get for. But in our race, you're doing it against time. You want to get as good of a time as possible. So everyone's, pushing for a good time. Everyone's going at the same speed, and often you'll have guys at the front. If you're on the front for a bit, you'll pull the peloton for a couple of minutes, and then you'll fall off, and you end up sort of rotating. So it's sort of, as much as it is a solid block of riders just all going in the same direction, in itself, people are sort of rotating through. So it's quite fun. Like you'll push, and when you're at the front of the peloton, it's quite like you feel a bit like a husky. You're like pulling your sled kind of a thing, and it's about sort of just setting a pace, keeping the pace, and really going for it. And then everyone else sort of has to keep up with you because you're the one setting it. And then as soon as you get too tired, you literally just pull off a little bit, and then the next guy will come past you, and then you just slot back into the peloton where you then, I suppose, get the gains of now obviously being behind a whole bunch of other people, and you rest a little bit, and then you'll slowly work your way back towards the front.
And did you do it on your own or with someone as a teammate?
It was it's just a bunch of random people, and that's part of the challenge in some senses. I was hoping to be in a slightly better like a seeding time of when you actually leave, and be in a faster peloton, but because it was the first time that I did the race, I started a bit late, and then I was having to sprint and chase after.
What do you mean? So you don't start at the same time? There are
the races. I think it's between 25 to 30,000 people every year that do it. So they basically just can't.
That's a big peloton.
Yes, it's a very big peloton.
You get off the
You'd
the
be
front,
lucky if you get into the first 1,000. So they release the groups in batches, and
you just get timed for.
And you get timed as soon as you leave the you obviously have like a race tag, whatever, and you get timed from when you leave to when you finish. And within the batches that get released as they go, you'll form pelotons, and because I think it's like up to 100, 200 people per peloton or per batch that they release.
I see. So it's also
so you
a bit
form
of
your little groups basically.
Yeah, and it's a bit of luck whether you'll get fast people with
so when
you.
I left my group, when I did the race, I left, and then there was it was maybe 5 of us that were wanting to try and get to a faster group, and then we clumped together, and then you make sort of just a little 5-man little time trial team, and you're helping each other all get to the front until the first climb. It's good fun.
Yeah,
it's a very unique feeling, and a lot of people who cycle, I guess, not to be rude, but like more casually, or haven't raced or haven't done sort of road cycling in that way, won't know about it or wouldn't have experienced it, and it is quite a unique experience, but it's a very fun, it's very fun, it's quite exhilarating, and it is the case of if someone was to fall, then everyone just goes down. And you certainly see a few crashes.
It seems to me that there is, it feels like there is more kind of that feeling of camaraderie, even though you're racing with one another.
Yeah.
Similar to maybe, even though a rugby team is playing against another team.
Yeah.
I think rugby is among the like ball sports out there.
Talking about the right sports now, hey?
I mean, I'm not really much of a sport watching person. Per se, but rugby always struck me as a really, really camaraderie focused sport.
Yeah.
Like you can tell if a team is pulling together or not.
Yeah.
Whereas in football, as much as football, everyone loves football apparently, football seems to me like one person can pull a team much more in football than in rugby, you know what I mean?
Very much so. I mean, there are some I guess in recent years, like, 4 World Cups, by the way, guys. 4 World Cups. That's what I'm saying. South African 4 World Cups. That's it. But I think in rugby, you definitely will notice, like if you have a team that's focused more around one player, you'll notice a lot more.
I see.
And I think if that player, for example, then subs out or is taken off or whatever, you sort of then notice that the play style will change, or the tempo of that team, it does change a little bit. I think a classic example is the French national team. It's a very good side, and they're producing phenomenal athletes. But one of their players, their halfback, or Antoine Dupont, again, phenomenal player. Like you almost like he's without a doubt one of the best players in the world currently, and when he plays with France and is playing for France, France is terrifying. It's they're a really formidable team. But if he's not playing with them, there is a bit of a difference, and it's maybe not as big of a difference as some people would say, but it's noticeable, and it's there, I think. And a lot of other teams will have that, whether that's in sort of a player and their athletic ability, or just a player and their sort of more, I guess, their leadership ability, or what they bring from a sense of experience of guys, like, just in how they organize and deploy troops, so to speak.
Yeah, I guess also just charisma, like sometimes it takes that one guy for people to just feel like they have the power to do something. The captain.
Captain, my captain.
Yeah, no, for sure, but it does seem to me that in different sports there are like broader or narrower margins of that, although I'm no sport expert at all. We're literally I'm speculating here completely off the cuff. It's just an observation. That's cool, man. Yeah, I've not
What sports did you play at school?
So
or just in general?
Yeah, sure. So I used to play football for a long time. In Poland in general, football was a huge. Soccer, like soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. That's the game. I think maybe now it might be slightly different, whatever. But for the most part, football was the sport that every second person in school either wanted to play or did play for a team.
Handball, is that a big thing in Poland as well?
Yeah, and volleyball. And
volleyball.
Those three are like I did play handball sparingly at high school, and I did enjoy it. But
is it essentially just football but with your hands?
Kinda like
I'm not too familiar.
Yeah, sure. The rules are sort of in between of basketball and football.
Okay.
Like you have a limited amount of steps you can take if you have the ball in your hand.
Similar to netball as well, something like that.
Yeah, like you have like I think 3 steps, 3 times you can touch so similar to a 3-step throw. It's much more sort of dynamic in a sense of taking the ball away from one another in really close contact.
So it's not a contact sport, or is it?
No. I mean, it is to the extent that one guy that in Poland doesn't have an eye because of how close those fingers and thing goes. But it is more. It's a weird one because let's say in football, of course you play more in certain areas percentage-wise than others, but for the most part the whole field is to play. In handball, what we would usually do when we played between schools or whatever is like the moment you have the ball, everyone's just pelting it to the other side, and in that middle part rarely does anything occur other than maybe someone fumbled or the throw was intercepted. Other than that, all the action is either around one sort of goal or the other, and there is
sort of just nothing in between.
Kind of like it's similar to basketball, I guess, in that sense as well. That the transition between the goals is much more of we have the ball, run.
So just running shuttle runs the whole time, going up and down.
Yeah, and it's much more dynamic around the goal itself, with the goalie having its own space that you cannot enter.
Yeah.
So I guess that's also fairly unique. That you might have seen how the professionals or whatever would kind of try to gain momentum to jump into that space and throw the ball before they touch.
I have seen lots of videos about it. It looks very cool, but it's not a thing. I guess I've never seen or heard anything about it here in the UK or back home. Yeah.
It is, but I would say it's still fairly niche. Polish team is amazing apparently in that, and volleyball obviously we kick ass, but or they do. I don't. But.
Collective we.
It's weird, right? How we say we. What does that mean? We, like a Polish team, and all the Polish people out there are like, we kick ass in volleyball. I've never.
No, but it's just you're just getting behind a team. I mean, it's the same as like.
I guess so.
Same as the South African rugby team. When the Springboks play, the entirety of South Africa is united to support the Springboks, and it's wonderful. So it's not. It's like. And it's a 23-man squad, of guys that we're playing on a particular day. They're playing tomorrow, for example, and it's like people just get excited about it. It's nice to have something to get excited. So it's like that's the collective we.
Yeah, I guess
we are supporting them.
That's the connection.
We support Poland.
Fair enough. For it also just rolls off the tongue because I've been saying that for years as a it's just a cultural
point of pride, isn't it?
Thing. Yeah, but the thing is, what I mean? Is it me going behind them, or is it I'm putting them behind me to somehow make myself, feel a part of them?
I guess it's like they represent Poland, you are Polish.
Yeah, and
we are doing well.
That's the connection. Yeah, but so I did play loads of football, and there was a time when I played sort of amateur, hoping to get professional. Never did. I enjoyed it, but it was for different reasons. I don't think I had, for example, and maybe we can touch on that as well, because I kind of feel that maybe you have that X factor in terms of in jiu-jitsu, in terms of competing. There is a certain I would call it literally like an X factor, in the sense of I don't really know exactly what that is, a character trait, an attitude that allows you to go that extra, slightly extra aggressive, slightly extra more, slightly extra something that allows, for example, I could witness it much more with my brother when he was playing football as a young kid, and I was already sort of almost an adult, because there is a big difference between us in age. You can see when people play, if the kid has it in him to risk it, kind of
to push
to do that thing that if it works out, he scores. If it doesn't, it will hurt.
Yeah.
And similarly, I think, in martial arts in general, I have a friend in Poland who is trying to be professional. He's semi-professional by now. He did get paid a couple of times for fights, like MMA fighter. You gotta have that level of sort of abandon that allows you to do that. You know what I mean? Like I don't have that. I'm not aggressive enough, I would say, or maybe I don't have that special spice there in that area of my life to make it. You know what I mean? It's.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I don't know. With jiu-jitsu and stuff, like, from a competing point of view, I do agree. I think people who compete and do well in competitions, whether that's, I guess, at a lower level or a high level, I don't know, they definitely have to have internally like a strong desire to win, because you do need it, and I think you're almost you're doing yourself a disservice if you're pitching up to compete and you're just a bit like casual, like, oh no, just see how it goes. I think it's good to have a bit of, I guess, that competitiveness to say, oh no, I'm gonna step on the mat with this guy and I'm gonna beat him, kind of a thing. Obviously if that other guy also has that, then
that's the competition.
Yeah, that's where it happens. And I think then the preparation, or you as an athlete, what do you do differently that's going to give you that little bit more over that guy? I guess that's often what makes or breaks good athletes from average athletes to, I guess, non-athletes in some sense, from a competitive competing sense. And I mean, I don't know.
No, but don't get me wrong. I bet you can, in non-professional setting, I bet you can have a really good experience in a competition setting, whatever, as an adventure, and have that. I would argue that to be a professional in a sport, to go where so few go, and I would find sort of resonating X factor in all the other facets of life. Like there are some people that are really incredible public speakers.
Yeah.
And they have that what others, they go that extra mile.
Charisma, or they have.
They will risk that joke and it will land, and that's what makes one guy and makes him be on Netflix with his own show, while the others are still showing up at bars trying it.
Yeah.
So
is that to I guess to continue with that? Is that what you think you have here with your podcast? Is that the goal? It's like it might not work out, but you're doing it, and if it works, it works.
I mean, so the podcast, the origin of the podcast essentially was, I was stuck during COVID in lockdown, and I used to have a blog, and I used to write loads of short stories and poems, and I noticed that no one reads, no one does it. Like obviously some do, but it's such a small.
It's very niche.
Very much so, unless the blogger era is past us, unless you have a very niche thing that people are looking forward to find, maybe a travel guide, whatever.
Travel blog online.
And a friend of mine suggested that I get myself a microphone and I record my poems for short videos on Instagram.
There you go.
And I did do that for a week. And then I had the microphone already, and I'm like, well, I can also record my longer stories on the microphone. Yeah. And then here we are. And then I just I started playing around with, maybe I'll record a conversation with my brother. Maybe I'll record my thought about an experience I've had, and that's a monologue. The the vision for this show is to go on, and it's constantly fluid. I've had over the past few weeks, I've had many things happening in my life that are sort of morphing my reality. I'm at a crossroads with many things. I'm changing jobs, or at least I'm abandoning a job.
Yes.
I'm changing countries, or at least I'm potentially moving elsewhere. And with all that, for example, a question my wife asked me recently was like, have you had a thought about the show? What are you going to do about the podcast? And initially I was a bit at a loss. I actually 2 days ago said to a friend of mine that I don't know what to do about the podcast, whether it's going to continue or not. Well, should I take a break? Should I first focus on my life for a time? But then as we're talking today, and as I'm just like back in this space,
yes,
I just love it, man. I have no doubt that as long as I continue doing something that I'm interested in, and hopefully it adds value to at least my participant, whatever, or one guy out there or a girl that is listening to this craziness right now, that's worth it.
And random conversation on the internet, basically.
Yeah, and you never know. So I have those, maybe times, because I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years now. I have these times when I'm a bit like, is it worth it? Yet again, something didn't work out and stuff. Ultimately, it comes down to, am I enjoying myself if I do it?
Yeah.
If I'm enjoying myself if I do it, when I do it, do it. Just leave it.
So is it become more of a bit of like a hobby in some senses then?
It always was.
So it started as a hobby, and you just sort of continue it as a hobby, and if it develops into something more, then fantastic. If not, then such is life.
So far, I guess that's where there is this cliche like, do something you love every day and you'll never work.
A day in your life.
It's like, of course, I will be more than happy and basically ecstatic if this over time becomes my full-time employment, in the sense that I no longer have to go to a day job or write another piece for someone or teach English or do whatever I'm going to be doing in the future, and I will be able to live off of this. Great.
Fantastic.
But if not,
I believe
there is no the only downside to it is if I get bored or if I don't enjoy myself doing it. You know what I mean? So for the time being, today I'm gonna say we're continuing.
Fair enough.
Ask me next week.
Very good.
No. But of course, coming back to that X factor, because you kind of asked about this, I kind of get the feeling that out of all the different blessings I've been given in this, form, speaking is something that I might have that X factor there. Whether it's there or it isn't, I don't know.
Happy to explore it.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But I do enjoy. I do enjoy that part, and I can see myself again and again having a conversation worthy of my time.
Yes.
And I think that's a huge win.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's funny you say that. Yeah, because I find a lot of, when you interact with a lot of people in, I guess, just everyday life or whatever setting here or there, you'll notice very quickly whether or not you've spoken with someone that's been valuable, or whether you've spoken with someone and you're like, I could have stared at a brick wall for the same amount of time and it would have been more valuable. And it's like, and I don't know why it's like that, but sometimes I think being able to have a long conversation, or just a good conversation, even if it's not long, just that's a value that has honesty, sincerity, and just, I guess, some degree of authenticity in it. Then you feel just a lot better. You feel like you've connected with someone. You feel like you've been seen, been heard. It's really nice. It's really nice. I had it the other day with a friend of mine. We were just talking through various things, random things, but we were being honest, and we were open, and also just sort of challenging each other in various ways. And it's nice. It's nice when you walk away and you go, a nice conversation. I really like that. Like,
yeah. I sometimes literally feel high after a big conversation. With. I like to go for walks, and every now and then, whether it is over the phone or actually in person, I'll have a conversation, and then I stand outside my door as I open the door, and I literally feel as if I had either 6 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
Or I popped a fucking pill. Like, I feel so hyper.
Intense conversation.
Hyper alert, and kind of in this. I think it does something to our.
Brain chemistry or something.
On a level that, in a day-to-day life, when there is so much noise and sort of short bursts of random fast food, essentially. Or small talk at the water cooler at work, we just crave that, and people don't realize until they witness it, until they experience it, that it's actually pleasant.
Is this again? So I feel like I'm interviewing you here now.
No, we're having a conversation. I love it.
Is this podcast in a way that you, I guess, foster that environment or encourage it with people, or in a sense promote it, or?
I'd like to think that. Yeah. A big inspiration for me, obviously, as probably for any podcaster out there, unless they are so against whatever Joe Rogan does that they are like, Joe is bad. I think Joe gives a great, he does a great service to the world by simply showing that you can have a conversation with anyone, and if you're interested in the other person and in the conversation, it's gonna be worth your time, their time, and people that are observing it, because it's the same as sports. I've heard someone say, I don't remember who, at a show, or maybe I read it in a book, that you watch a sports person doing like an amazing feat of a glamorous goal, or maybe you watch a musician engaging with a piece of music to the point that you're literally feeling ecstatic. If you're interested in what you're doing, you are interesting to watch. That's something that I heard before, and it resonates with me in a sense that if you're having a really valuable conversation, then this is worth my time. Hopefully it's worth your time. And if that's the case, by mere chance, it might be worth someone else's time.
Chance,
And it can be applied to anything, like literally everything. So to answer your question, I would like to foster that. Of course, it's easier said than done, because as I speak with different people in this setting, whether in person or online, although online is slightly different, not always is the person maybe ready or comfortable. Maybe I failed at making them comfortable. We are all people. We have a better day or a more difficult day, and sometimes the conversation does not flow as easily as other times. But that's also
normal.
Part
that's
of
normal,
this. Exactly.
That is normal. I do think that is normal.
And I guess in those situations, I just flip the switch into an interview.
And just start asking loads of questions.
And so I make at least the effort of giving the other person a chance to speak, because to have a conversation, we both have to give each other space, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, if I'm the one giving you space, then I guess it's an interview.
I would agree with that.
But yeah, it is curious.
My question, I guess my question to myself, and a question to a lot of other people, because I find that as someone who's not from the UK initially, it's been a long-standing sort of thing that I've struggled with being here in the UK, of being able to connect with people and chat with them and have more sort of substantial conversation. Or sort of, not substantial, I'll say meaningful conversation rather. And it's not everywhere. I'm not saying the entirety of the UK is incapable of meaningful conversation. That's definitely not what I'm saying. But I think in South Africa, people are very friendly, and I think I can think of many occasions, like if you're filling up petrol at the station with your car, you'll just start chatting to the guy, and you'll start joking together. Or if in a supermarket and you just sort of, the cashier will just start talking to you like you've known each other for many years, kind of thing. And I think in that sense it's a lot easier. People are a lot more just open to just chatting and being friendly and things like that, where in the UK I think people are very polite and they'll sort of stop after, oh, it's nice weather today, or oh, the football or whatever, and I think there seems to be, this is my opinion, my observation, there seems to be an inability to be like very honest and open about things, and it's not in a negative sense, but just saying how you really think or saying how you really feel, and just being honest. And it's, if you've had a horrible day, it's, oh, how you doing? Oh, I'm alright. And then like that's it, instead of, oh, it's been a rubbish day. And I'm not sure if that's because there's a general culture of, you have your people that you talk to, and those are the people you talk to. You have your thing that you do, whatever you, like classic is like you go to the pub or whatever, or you go to jiu-jitsu, or you, I don't know, go to the gym, or whatever your sort of outlet is. I'm not sure if there's more of a culture of just having your thing, and you don't talk to people outside of, those environments that you're aware of and that you use. But I found it quite hard, and a lot of other internationals I've spoken to have said exactly the same thing.
I see what you mean. I don't know the answer.
Has it been similar for you?
Yeah, it's curious you should say that, because I'm really sorry, Alistair. I still have not fully edited, because we recorded a podcast with my supervisor from uni I used to go to, amazing guy, and we did it with few cameras, and because of the few cameras there is editing to be done, and I keep postponing it. I'll do it this week, I promise. But he started with that. We started about the start of the podcast is literally about why is it not okay to say you're not okay, and I don't know the answer to why is that the case in the UK. It does seem to me that, for example, Polish people in general, yet again we're just generalizing here, seem much more expressive and somehow sometimes considered rude in that sense, or
but do you
arrogant.
think they're just direct?
Direct, yeah, that's a good word.
I had as a South African, a lot of people have said, oh, you're South African, you're just quite direct, like that's just how South Africans are. And I'm like, oh, I mean, maybe, but
you just communicate.
Yeah, if there's an issue, shouldn't you address it? Like, I don't know, is that revolutionary?
Yeah, it's curious. I don't know what makes it. Obviously, there is the stereotype of stiff upper lip, and I guess stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason. It's not. There is a pinch of truth in that. My question may be a bit on more on the philosophical front, is like, what came first? Is it that we address a stereotype of stiff upper lip that then we pretend that that's the case? Or is it really a stiff upper lip and then we decided it's a stereotype? You know what I mean? Because if culturally you foster a space of, I will just say, oh, hello, how are you? And I say, how are you? As if that's an answer.
Yeah, like,
good, how are you?
Yeah, good, yeah, I'm fine, yeah.
Like, I made that mistake, I bet you did too, so many times early in my UK career, when I would start explaining what's up with me or whatever, and the person already went.
Yeah.
Like, like,
oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm not doing so great. And then they've already walked past. Yeah.
Yeah, or like, yeah, today's having, I'm doing this now, and they're just like, oh, cool, bye.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know why. Yeah.
I mean, I guess different cultures will also have, like, for example, like, I know there's a stereotype about like Eastern Europeans being very blunt and very direct, or like they'll say what they think, or they'll say what they mean, and I guess it calls for a bit more sort of like I don't know, awkward environments, or like an awkward confrontation in some sense, especially if it's maybe about something more personal or whatever. Like, I think maybe that's why. But I have wondered that people don't seem to like the fact that you are being honest, and then it's like, oh, now do I have to deal with that, or like, are you just saying, or what?
Should I call the ambulance?
Yeah, like, are you okay? like, is it my responsibility now to make sure you're okay? I think there's. So
it's curious, right? Because you said that there is a stereotype that Eastern Europeans are more direct or whatever, and it might become awkward because you say something.
Yeah.
From my perspective, the way I operate in the world, I find it quite awkward when I don't say something as well. So it's a double-edged sword. To what degree are we just pretending that this is not the case?
What you think is awkward is normal for me, and then what's normal for me is awkward for you, kind of a thing.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. It's a good question, and I'm afraid that for many reasons, one of which being that people in general, and that applies to myself as well, we can become easily quite defensive or close up if what is being asked of us will make us sort of
seem a particular way,
or at least start questioning the foundation of our being. Like, if you've been like this for a long time, if I ask a British friend of mine, why is it that you seem like you're quite stiff with your immediate surroundings, unless we're after 4 pints, they might become a bit defensive, you know what I mean? So
maybe ask them after 4 pints and then see what they say.
What's up? And then get punched.
Get hit by it. No, I don't think so. I said it to. I was with a group of friends, sort of a group. There were some internationals and non-international, non-UK people and some UK people. And I said this to everyone. And I was like, why is it the case? There seems to be something that's quite common for a lot of internationals in the UK. And it was very funny because before I said it on that particular occasion, I had quite a long conversation with a German lady who, again, Germans I think are quite direct and they're quite
for sure.
They'll say it how it is. If they're happy, they'll tell you, and if they're not happy, they'll definitely tell you. And then I said this to them, and all of them were quite like, the majority of them were quite like, that's quite interesting, and they never addressed it. They've never ever said anything. And so it's like they'll listen and they're like, oh, okay, that's nice, and then they've not. And then there was one person who was like, oh, that's interesting. Why do you think that is? And actually engaged in a bit more of a conversation.
But did any of the British people decide to reflect on it? In a sense of actually...
Not that I'm aware of.
Because I would expect also a potential defensiveness, because I know that I can come across as defensive if you ask me, like, why do you do stuff like that?
Yeah. One of them was surprised by it, and that ended up being the person who was a bit more sort of open to, I guess, exploring why I think that, or why that's been my experience, I suppose. And it's not to blanket it. I've met, I think, when I've been to, for example, Yorkshire. I have a friend who lives in Yorkshire. When the first time I went to visit them and her family there, it was almost like being back home. People are so chatty and friendly, and it's like they'll be honest. I think I had like a slightly unusual pair of shoes on, and they looked at me and like, those are weird shoes. And it's like. And it's a very small example, but I think they're a bit more open and honest and friendly and chatty in a what seems to be a bit more an authentic way, as opposed to just how you doing? I'm alright. I'm alright. And then how are you doing? I'm alright. And then it just goes on.
Where is your girlfriend from?
Tanya, my wife now.
Oh wow! Yes.
Yeah, we got married. Fantastic. 10 out of 10 experience. Would recommend. We met here in Edinburgh, but she is initially from sort of Spain.
Okay, all right, yeah, of course, I remember now.
Spanish,
yeah, because I was gonna say that maybe I thought she was Scottish, and I was like, maybe ask her why.
No.
But yeah, of course, it's not a rule, right? Because
I think the Scots are better than the English in general. I do think, in my
terms
opinion,
of like
it tends to be the English.
Nice.
And I'm not hating on the English.
I don't know why. Yeah, it's
my observation. It's my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I don't know. It seems to me that
more the Southern English.
Very specific. This particular. Yeah.
No, I would say like from the Midlands down, from the Midlands south. But it's sort of, there's like levels, there's degrees that I've experienced it to. I would say like they from the Midlands south, they tend to be the most sort of like difficult to like break into. And then sort of Northerners, Northern English, they tend to be quite, again, this is purely my experience, my opinion, they seem to be quite sort of authentic and honest with how they chat and speak, and are willing to sort of, I guess, be open to other people in a more meaningful conversational way. And the Scots are a bit of a mixed bag, I think. Yeah, you meet some.
You know, it's curious as well, because you just made me think of the Middle East, for example, where at least in Kuwait, when I got to meet, you know, I did, apart from work, did make a few sort of acquaintances. Friends is probably a big word. I would risk saying that one person became my friend there. But for example, in that particular country, in that particular culture, among Kuwaitis, it is fairly difficult to begin with to mix in with a group of Kuwaitis. They are very welcoming, everyone's very kind, and you will feel like you're being sort of brought in, but that's on the surface. But to actually get to know them, for them to sort of invite you for their famous diwaniyas, which are from the word divan, which is basically, you know, you go in the evening to sit together, a bunch of men smoke cigarettes, drink coffee, talk about politics, football, whatever. That's their
sensational.
That's their way of spending, you know, free time among men. To be invited to that,
it's quite challenging.
That's like a level 2 of let's say initiation. But to actually get to know those people, for them to become your real friends, for a foreigner it can be very, very difficult, bordering on the level of impossible, because it's a very close-knit small community. Basically everyone knows everyone. There's 2 million Kuwaitis, so you know, at least family-wise, you can literally shake 2 hands and you know who that guy is. And so when I was, for example, invited 2 times to this guy's house for a diwaniya, they would still be very, you know, obviously I didn't speak Arabic, so I couldn't really understand the majority of their conversation unless they turned to speak English. But while I felt like I'm being very welcomed and stuff, I have no doubt that there was a huge gap between what they are actually, you know, willing to share with me versus what I'm experiencing, thinking that I'm being a mutual friend of that group. So
I don't think that's I mean, I don't know if it's the same here. I don't think
no
it would be the same.
It's just
but it's a fair point, because for example back home in South Africa with friends and family, obviously with family it's the same here, I would say. But with friends in particular, there's a lot more of a culture of having a group of friends around at so and so's house or at your house, and you have a braai or a barbecue. And in general, like if you make new friends, it's not uncommon to have people at your house. You know, for example, you know, like a neighbor moves in down the street, kind of thing. Like the classic examples, like you'll take them a bottle of wine or whatever, and you say, oh, welcome to the neighborhood, welcome to the street. And then after a bit you get to chatting, oh, why don't we having a braai on Friday, come join, or we're doing this on Saturday, there's a rugby game on, come join, you know. And I think there's a lot more of a culture that back in South Africa, and I haven't experienced it as much here, and if I have, it's been a little bit more awkward.
I see what you mean.
And I don't know if it's maybe just also, I mean, but the sizes of houses and things are different back home in some of the more suburban areas. But there's it's like here it's quite, you know, people don't have that sort of, I guess, the facilities to do it necessarily. So it's like, why would you invite them over? Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's a weather thing.
No, but it's a great point. You know, for example, one of the most active among my friends or acquaintances in Edinburgh, one of the most active group, a community that constantly does parties and barbecues and stuff, are Greeks. So like random, but they have stuff on every week. They you know, like there is dances together, and do stuff, barbecue and mass together, and like the guy from work, from the office, he's Cypriot, and he joined the Greek Cypriot, I guess, community in Edinburgh, and it's like hundreds of people, and weekly they have stuff on.
Just doing it, all the time.
Huge community, everyone knows everyone. That he's going to be a godfather of some random kid now because he made friends with those people. Like
it's quite wild.
It's like a Greece from home. You know what I mean? Like brought. So I don't know. Maybe the Brits are having that. We just don't know because we're foreign.
Maybe. I don't know. I'd like to think that there's a bit more sort of openness and welcomeness in that sense, but
at the same time, for example, for me, majority of my friends are for the most part a bunch of foreigners and maybe one or two English people mixed in. Even at uni, because there was so many international people, while I obviously made friends with a bunch of English people, for the most part, like it's I think 7-3 in our group in terms of 3 English people and 7 foreigners from all around.
It is so that's I guess it's nice to know that it's not a unique experience in that sense.
It's not you.
It's also interesting. It's not me. I'm not weird. Maybe I am a little bit, but not that to the extent where everyone's odd. So I find that good to know. I mean, I knew that already from the other people I've spoken to as well, but it's
the Spanish are also much more like.
Do you think it's just because there's a culture of family, friends meeting together, eating together, just a bit more, I guess, just in a more sort of relaxed, casual sense where it's not as common here. Like people, I think the classic example here is that everyone just goes to the pub and people will meet at the pub and that's where you meet, It's like all of your problems that you have, you leave at home and then you'll go to the pub and you watch the football and...
Well,
I don't know.
If you think about it, I would argue that actually, if that is the primary sort of meeting spot, it's quite exclusive as well, right? Because
so?
I would say so. Obviously, everyone is welcome, but ultimately, what is the majority of people there? Alcohol drinkers, sports fan.
Yeah.
Not every English person is an alcohol drinking sports fan, or if they are. Sue me, fair enough, I didn't know. I thought that there's a bunch of different things. So in Poland, pubs are available, but they're not as big of a thing as here. You have restaurants,
I mean, the Polish are also known for drinking a lot, aren't they?
No, of course, but the point of a restaurant is usually not the drink, is the food, and then if you go to a shot bar, that's because you're going out to town and you end up at the party, right? Okay. So the pub scene, in a sense of like, I arrive at the pub and this is the end goal.
This is where I start, this is where I end, kind of a thing.
And then crawl back home. At least from my perspective, it's not as big of a thing. So I don't know, it doesn't seem to cater to everyone. That's what I'm saying. A barbecue at the back of someone's house caters to both adults, kids, the whole neighborhood. A pub, what does a kid do at a pub?
I guess nothing really. Pick up bad habits.
Plus, that's my pet peeve in terms of pubs is it really hurts my ears how loud it gets there. And so I literally bring my loops like I don't really
for a club. I can understand for a club or a
I shit you not, like, first of all, I barely drink, so I don't really go to the pub these days, but if I do, I will bring my loops, and at the point that my ears start to bleed, I will just put them in, and I can still have a conversation because they're not like, fully they're the ones that you would use for a club. But they shun out the noise which is over the limit that what your ear wants. Noise, because it does get, especially when people get drunk, they like, it's so loud
and rowdy,
everyone's just shouting, like, so I prefer a house party. That's how I was brought up. House parties are around 100%.
Okay.
Let's switch gears for one last riff.
Okay.
Something that stuck with me when you mentioned it is I got married. 10 out of 10. Definitely recommend. So tell me more about it, because I've already had a few people coming on the show or off camera. Obviously I got married fairly recently as well, and
congratulations.
And to you too, and it's just curious for me to first of all, maybe why would you say that? Like 10 out of 10 stuff, and then maybe tell us a little bit about your experience.
I guess the easiest answer would be is because I love my wife and she's very nice and she's wonderful, and she hasn't paid me to say that. No, I'm joking.
She did.
No, she definitely didn't. But no, Tanya is wonderful, and I'm very, very grateful, and just, I guess, I feel very lucky to have met her, and the fact that things have worked out the way that they have. And I guess the reason why I would say 10 out of 10 would recommend kind of a thing is I think that my thought process is that marriage is a really wonderful thing. If you find the person and you decide to get married, it's an incredibly, I guess, obvious way of saying, this is my person, I'm committing myself to you, which in itself is quite meaningful and powerful, I think. And I know a lot of people will, I guess, argue or say, oh, that's not necessarily, like, you can say that without getting married or doing that. But I think there is a lot of value in, I guess obviously when you're married, you sign documents, putting pen to paper, so to speak, but like, whether you do that from a governmental sense, in a legal sense rather, even if you don't do that, doing it in front of friends, in front of family, and having some ceremony in some sense. Tanya's Spanish, she's a Catholic, so we had a Catholic wedding, which was in itself a really wonderful experience, and it felt very regal, and I never expected I'd get married in a Catholic church. So in that sense, there was a lot of sort of I guess a spiritual element to it as well, from a faith aspect, and I think there's, within the context of us getting married, it feels like not only were our friends and family watching, but God was watching as well, and it's almost like we're saying, we're getting married and everyone witnesses, like, hold us to account, and I guess when things are going well, be happy with us, and when things aren't going well, come alongside and support us and hold us to account. And similarly, I guess with God, I suppose. From a more practical sense of why I would say it's great to get married, I think it's very, very helpful to have someone who's fully committed to you in the same way that you are to them, to supporting each other, whether that's just in general life, in your career, in your studies, in just day-to-day workings. We have an agreement where she does all the laundry and I do all the washing up, like dishes and stuff, and it's because I hate doing laundry, and she doesn't I guess love doing laundry, but she minds it a lot less, and she hates doing the dishes. So it's not like I love doing the dishes, but I'm happy to do it. So it's a mutual agreement.
Barter.
Yes, exactly. So there's and I think, for example, when I first met Tanya, I guess I wasn't in the most fantastic place in life, and I feel very grateful that I guess she was willing to stick with me and also support me and push me in ways that you sometimes can't do by yourself. So in that regard, having someone that's really there for you through quite literally thick and thin, and I suppose that's part of the wedding vow, like in sickness and in health. I don't think that's literally just for your physical health, but that's also, I guess, the health of your mind, your life, the things that are around you. It's like you're choosing to commit to something for a very long period of time until you die. And with a lot of other things in life, you get the best out of it if you play the long game. If you think of sort of investing, or even with jiu-jitsu and things like that, if you just come to one class, you might learn a really cool thing, but if you continue going and you really commit to sort of learning, you'll get, I think, the best out of it. And I think similarly with relationships and I guess and ultimately marriage, is that you're choosing, I guess, quite openly to commit yourself to someone, and in that sense. It's not always going to be easy, but I think you'll get the best out of each other, and you also then give yourself the best opportunity to grow something together, whether that's a family, whether that's a business, whether that's, whatever. You're choosing to do that for a long period of time, provided that you're consistent and you hold each other to the standard that you want to be held to. So for me, I guess there's many. I could talk about it for quite a while, because I think it's a really important thing, and I do find it quite sad sometimes that it's not as popular or not as common nowadays, because I think I guess I haven't in the past. I guess I have my own experience, and so does Tanya, but I know from a lot of friends that the dating scene is horrible. So it's like, I think a lot of people want to be in meaningful, good relationships, but I think a lot of people aren't willing to sort of commit, and I think there's a lot of damage that can be done to people sort of mentally and emotionally, or just even warped perceptions of men and women. If you've been hurt by someone, I think that does affect your view. And I do think there's a huge unwillingness from a lot of people, myself included. I think when we first met, we had quite long discussions about where we wanted to go in life, and I guess, is there that compatibility issue of, I want to go here and you want to go there. Okay, well, we both really want these things, so it's just going to split down the middle, and that's it. So I've had to compromise on things, and likewise so has she. And I think a lot of people nowadays don't want to do that, but I think you can gain a lot by being willing to compromise together on things. So that's my answer.
No,
short,
course,
I suppose.
No, yeah. That's beautiful. The initial part that you said in terms of like legal and I guess spiritual and accountability wise, I certainly agree that, like with anything, like with signing a contract for a job, or with committing for a lifelong, podcast creation, like there is a certain additional depth that just comes from that commitment, which might actually be, energetically wise, what keeps you in those moments of doubt or difficulty and stuff. Like, because if you know that you're in this for life, you're more likely to fight for it when you need to, rather than let it go. And to your second sort of extensive point, I see fairly similarly. I think there has been a fairly big disservice done to marriage in a sense of advertising, that many media outlets, which unfortunately for many people are the primary source of values and perspective on life, don't show marriage in as much of a depth and
a real sense,
as sleeping around or partying or pursuing career. There's such a big thing about that career thing, first career and then I'll think about my relationship, and then good luck, you're 40, you have your career, let's see who likes you when you're bald and after 10 years of sitting behind a desk. This is not to say that people cannot find love and be satisfied with their marriage then, but it seems to me that in many ways the values of in that area have been either flipped or pushed aside.
It's certainly not, I guess, the idea of long-term relationships or long-term commitments, and I guess marriage by proxy definitely have been devalued. And I think parts of the world, I do think it's more of a the Western world's problem as opposed to the rest of the world. There's I think a big step away from tradition in that sense. And I think in some senses it is also just because that's the economy and that's the world. It's not, if you look at, I don't know what it's like, but for my parents' generation, for example, they were able to survive and work off one salary. And that's not as doable nowadays unless, the one person earning the salary is earning a very healthy, salary every month. So I think there are like practical reasons why it's maybe not as easy or as similar to our sort of parents' generation, but I do think that that's also a result of everyone stepping away from it as well. And I think also there's a I was talking to Tanya about this the other day, and she made a very good point of saying, like, marriage is not just you and one other person getting married. It's also you connecting to a tradition that's been going on for hundreds of thousands of years, kind of thing. Like, it's just been going hundreds and thousands of years, you know, of people coming together. And it's not always been, I guess, done in the best way, but to just sort of disregard such a huge part of humanity and saying, like, this is ultimately why we are here, is because our parents chose to get together. And in the same way, I think it's also quite sad, you have a lot of people who are not getting together, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that just won't be here in the future because people aren't getting together. And
that comes back to the point that because there is not enough commitment, they are less likely to stay together through thick or thin. Which is, for example, from my perspective, just on a surface level, what I've been observing among my friends who are constantly dating but never satisfied, because there is this kind of like a abundance fallacy, that there is always something better out there.
Yeah. Pasture is always greener on the other side.
You know, and if there is if that attitude you mix with the attitude of like, well, I'll see how it goes, and if I don't like it, I quit, then no wonder that you're, you know, going through multiple years of dating, constantly being dissatisfied with your experience, while someone who from that person's perspective might have quite a boring life because they now have a wife that used to be their girlfriend for many years, they are actually much more satisfied with life because they can actually build something there. They're not just constantly, you know, setting out the Lego pieces on the table and then like, next. Yeah. Never actually getting to build anything.
I think it's a fair point. It's a fair point. I'm not sure why people in general. I think it's quite individual to, you know, from person to person, because I do think that there are a lot of people out there that really do want to have, you know, meaningful relationships or get married and things, and I mean, as a man, I would say that other men need to step up as well. I think there's a lot of behaviors that I think men persist with and continue to sort of behave in a certain way that is quite childish or maybe a bit boyish, and it's like, if you're above, I don't know, 25 or whatever, like, come on, man, like I think you should behave in a way that's also advertises yourself appropriately, and I guess it's, I don't know, I don't have the best words for it, but I think there's a lack of maturity from a lot of guys that don't help themselves individually, but also when they do maybe meet someone who things could work out because of they act in a certain way, it's like no chance. No chance.
I guess that you know, each to their own. That everyone's having their own adventure, and obviously we've been blessed to be put in a situation where we've taken the chance, and I think we're enjoying the ride. But yeah, it is curious. Like, I have no doubt there is always gonna be people getting married. It might just be that, you know, some groups of people are gonna be the ones getting married more than others. But I'm mostly interested in advertising positively this, because I can fully feel as well that it added to my relationship a layer of depth and sort of
security,
and an additional taste to it, which applies to all aspects. You know, you're in it together in all areas, unless you've signed some crazy American style prenup. you're literally in it together, you know. If one is not pulling their weight, the other has to pull the weight or pick the person up. And I cannot imagine a more strategically optimized choice for your life than finding someone who is a fully stakeholder of your well-being. You know what I mean? It's almost like you've added to your life.
Two is better than one. I think, you know, if the one falls down, the other can pick them up, kind of thing. I definitely agree.
And maybe just to take it back to our initial conversation about the depth of conversations, it seems to me also that in order to stay sane and become the best versions of ourselves, we need someone to hold a mirror to us, right? Because people are mirrors to us. If you're addicted to someone, someone will be addicted to you. And that's probably a signal to you, if you really pay attention, that what you've done is you've just created that situation for yourself. You found the dickhead you needed for your dickiness. And in the same way, I think this is yet again the greatest opportunity for someone over the long term to have someone in your corner that will hold that mirror to you when you're really, maybe you're slacking, maybe you're too hard on yourself, maybe you're just having a shit day and you think this is all your fault, or maybe it is your fault and you should be called out on it, you know, because both our parents, siblings, even friends, no one's gonna be.
It's not like it shouldn't just be an echo chamber. Essentially, I think in that regard, you know, challenge is good, and especially I think challenge coming from someone who knows you very well and is also, it's a very intimate relationship. When that person challenges you in a way, or might see you in a way that only they can see you, the challenge just lands a little bit, you know, a little bit more. It just hits home a little bit more. So I think it's maybe a bit more like you're like, if you take it to heart and you actually think about it and you actually like, okay, well, oh no, they are right. Like I am too hard on myself, or I actually do need to
get
up
out of the couch.
I need to like pull my weight a bit more. I actually do need to, you know, and in the same way that they'll do that to you, it's also your responsibility to do that for them. And it's not always easy necessarily. And I'm not talking from personal experience yet, I suppose, and I hope not. I hope we have a very happy long marriage and that's how it goes, because that would be wonderful. But if there ever is challenge, you know, it's on us to then figure it out and work it out, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, and I guess that institution around it and all that accountability is hopefully gonna keep us in the ring, boxing it out rather than just call it quits or you know, or throw in the towel, as they say. All right, my friend. Let's finish off with a classic question.
Yes.
We've talked about many things, so
Indeed.
feel free to touch on any of them or none. I always ask my guests to leave our audience with something as a final, you know, thought. Maybe it's a motto you live by. Maybe you just want to say hi to your mom. Whatever. Maybe it's a topic that you've been thinking about, and we should explore that in our own time. Anything you'd like to share?
Anything I'd like to share? That is a broad question. I think I'll say three things, or two things maybe. Two or three, we'll see. The first thing I would say, through life's challenges, like the best place to be is through the challenge, on the other side of the challenge. And it's also the most rewarding place to be as well, after you've gone through the challenge. So much so that I have it tattooed on my leg, through adversity to the heavens. And I think the second thing that I would say is, like, life's not that serious. No one makes it out alive, really. So have fun.
It is not. Yeah, we are all playing a game that I resonate with deeply.
In some senses.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was awesome, bro.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. If you did, thank you. If you didn't, all the love to those who didn't. But yeah, you know, let's see where it takes us next. Other than that, bye bye.
Many blessings.